네, 그럼 패널 토론을 위해 좌장 김민수 본부장님을
Now, I'd like to all the panelists as well as the moderator, Mr. Minsu Kim. Please come onto the stage and take your seat for the panel discussion. Thank you.
네, 김민수 본부장님 진행 부탁드립니다.
So, Professor Kim, the microphone is yours. Yes, we are going to have the panel discussion session. Because of time constraint, we'll just start right away. So, I would like to introduce to you our discussant first. The first discussant is the Jang Jung-in, head of the Ocean Economy Research Division at the Korea Maritime Institute. Dr. Jang Jung-in graduated from the Korea University, majoring in the economics, and also he is an expert in the taxonomy research for marine sector and OECD Marine Economy Committee member. The second panel is the Lee Seok-ju, head of Maritime Research Team of the Korea Ocean Business Corporation. He studied the international trade, and at Penn Ocean, he worked there for 10 years. And currently, he is serving as the head of the Marine Research Team of KOBC. So with that, we'll first give the chance to Ms. Chang. Good morning. I am Jang Jung-in from KMI. First and foremost, it is indeed a great pleasure to participate in this great session on Global Ocean Index to talk about how to evaluate and assess the competitiveness of the marine economy and also to assess the potential and the competitiveness that Korea has and how we can evolve. As mentioned by previous speakers, I think the most important goal is that we have to put a lot of thought on what types of the index should be designed and implemented and how. So in that sense, I think overseas cases could be our great reference point. So when developing index, we have to think about the goal and how we can utilize it, for whom, and where we can also make use of them. So I think that we have to have this kind of big picture before designing and implementing the index. And in this slide, we saw several examples of the major leading indices. So first, this index should be able to assess the both of the marine and city. So I think this really requires our deep consideration because it's not really a national index, it's a city-based index. Then maybe we can refer to the existing index that looked into the city's performance. So for example, like Global Power City Index, there are several items that the cities must have to be competitive. So we already have this list of the assessment items for the city competitiveness, but because we also have to assess the marine sector as well, in other words, our index is the combination of the marine and city assessment, and therefore we have to think further about how to assess the marine competitiveness of the city. And also we have to think about the economic aspect, environmental aspect, accessibility, and so on. So we really have to take a comprehensive approach to assess all aspects of the marine city. That's why we have to be careful and deepen our understanding. And through the discussions with experts, I believe that we really have to work on details and to build the structures for index. And for marine index, we can refer to the index available for the shipping industry or marine industry. But unlike them, what we are going to assess is to assess the competitiveness of city. So again, we have our own unique aspect, and we have to think about how to take care of this. So regarding that, I would like to ask a question to Dr. Hiro Ichikawa.
In your presentation, toward the end of your presentation, you mentioned that this is not about ranking, not just about ranking, but all the cities, because none of them is perfect. Those target cities can identify their relative weaknesses through this index, so they can utilize this information to make some improvement. So I'd like to know which cities have actually made such effort to improve, to make an improvement on their relative weaknesses. So throughout the history of the index, I'd like to know where there has been any such case, so that we can utilize it as a reference for us. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your question. We are just evaluate the power of the city, focusing on the 6 urban function. So this is only one result. If we use a different type of function, we may have a different data for any cities. But as a result, it's quite fair data to understand what's the power of city now. And after we started this ranking system 20 years ago, and after I presented this data to the world, and this is only the data, but it depends on city. Some cities quite interested to understand the data, and some cities are neglected. It depends. So it might be the topic for the cities as a recipient. And generally, as I understand, Seoul is very interested in this data, and Osaka is very interesting. But it depends. New York has no concern about that because now London is the top. So the reason I said the final comment in my presentation, I have a chance to show the data. Please think what's good, what's bad for your future change of the city. So this is my idea. So for this purpose, we are trying to show the quite fair data, no bias. It's a very important topic. And maybe in your side, maybe you're starting the ranking system. First of all, what's the purpose to make a purpose, or what's purpose to evaluate the city? So our topic is comprehensive power, but sometimes it's only focusing on finance, on its business, on the commerce. It depends. So from the viewpoint of comprehensive power, we can show the data. So after that, any city would think about the data that we show. And this is my impression so far. But for this purpose, every year we are revising, try to get more better data to be equal among 48 cities. So this is a very important topic. Whenever you're trying to make an index system, if you choose 20 cities, 30 cities, same level of data should be needed to be compared. It's quite difficult task. And when I started the ranking system GPCI, we selected about 250 indicators, but finally we condensed to the 70 indicators. And furthermore, within 70, 8 indicators come from questionnaires. And the questionnaire is a quite important topic, but it's quite danger because it's quite a bias sometimes. So make a balance every time, and making data should be quite fair to everyone to understand. So this is my general comment about your question. So finally, the city will decide how use our data or not. This is my impression so far.
네, 질문과 답변 감사합니다.
Thank you for the question and answer. And due to time constraint, we'll move on.
석주 팀장님 코멘트와
Now I'd like to turn to Mr. Lee for his comment or question. Hello, my name is Okju, head of Maritime Research Team of Korea Ocean Business Cooperation, or KOBC. In my team, we analyze the maritime shipping market. And we also collect and provide information related to the international shipping market and the shipping market. And as part of that work and service, and we have developed a freight rate index. Now we are running the index. We have an index, KUBC Dry Bulk Composite Index, an index for dry bulk. And for the container market, since the volatility level is quite high, in order to accurately capture the Korean freight rate market, we are developing an index for that. I believe before the end of this year, we will officially announce this index for the Korean freight rate market. When I was invited to be part of this panel discussion, I thought I might not be relevant for this session because what we work on is a bit different from what is proposed in this session. But as I listened to the presentations, although the characteristics might be different, but when it comes to the basic nature and the fundamental nature of an index, in order to have a better understanding of the market trend, and in order to inform the consumers of the information to better prepare themselves, I believe we are in the same vein. So here I'd like to share with you some points based on my understanding. Your go see, I believe the index might be quite relevant, but as I have run the dry bulk index, the thing is that you have quite similar indices, such as Baltic Dry Bulk Index, BDI. And the market we wanted to capture was not that different from the market captured by BDI. So we incorporated some other relevant indicators, well, the vessel type and the neighboring market. That's how we started, but that didn't really set our index apart from BDI. That was rather disappointing. But I believe it has its own significance because over time, while dry bulk index was initiated back in 2014, over time, we have put together some data. Then we came to see the consumers who need such data, for example, POSCO and large shippers, they are using our index for the reference point for their long-term contract and in the settlement of the freight rate. So we could see some applications. So I came to see that index, well, this is a type of product, I believe, whether there is a financial compensation or not. But anyway, I was quite happy to see that we can meet the needs of some of the customers and the consumers. And then now I believe finally we see some formation of the demand. So I believe you need to identify the demand out there in the market. And as for the container freight rate index, we are engaging the potential consumers as much as possible. For example, those who need the container freight rate market information, such as the shippers and the carriers who are involved in the market. So we involve the logistics companies and the shippers from the initial development stage of this index. So what kind of information should be captured? And the frequency of the publication and the weighting, all those factors were decided based on our discussion with and the participation of the market players. So I believe we could do better this time for the container freight rate index. compared to what we did for the dry bulk index, I believe we'll make an official announcement next month. But over time, I believe we will have more feedback from the market participants and the users of our container freight index. But some are against the index, any specific index. I don't think that properly captures the market, the trends in the market. So some criticism is out there. But anyway, we will start and launch the index, and we will test the temperature of the market, and we will incorporate the feedback in order to make an enhancement and improvement. So we will make sure that we have the maximum level of flexibility down the road. So this is our experience at KOBC. Although Global Ocean City Index is in its nascent stage, I believe these are the kind of challenges you will be faced with. So there was a very heightened level of criticism against the weighting. That was the most common criticism we received. So we should be able to put forth the ground. And sometimes we came to see that, well, that's the area actually we should do more. So I think through this kind of going back and forth process, you can see the level of reliability of your source data and how you will collect the data down the road. And I believe these are the challenges and the criticism you will face down the road. And then through discussion, I think you can make an improvement and you can successfully launch Global Ocean City Index. Thank you.
네, 좋은 말씀.
Thank you very much. So I was very impressed by your remark that the index is a sort of the commodity, so there must be some demand. So we have to think about who have demand for index, where it can be utilized. Now regarding that, the third speaker, Dr. Chang Ha-yong, is with us today. So when the Global Ocean City Index is developed, then for whom and for where do you think that the index can be utilized? Thank you for this opportunity. We talked a lot about the various aspects of index, and I completely agree with Mr. Lee that we have to make a lot of improvements. So I feel that the index is like a living organism. Then who needs this? I believe participants here today, as well as the cities with the vision of becoming marine cities, so all the policymakers. I believe these are the potential audiences for this index, as well as the citizens. They want to know whether the industry they work for are evolving and developing, or whether they are deteriorating. So that's why they have demand for index. So I think that these are the potential target groups that we can utilize. And while developing this index, another target that we can think about is that the World Ocean Forum, what it aims is, as its title says, Ocean as Uniters. It pursues the cooperation and consensus based on in convergence. And I believe that the index can give us the foundation for convergence and consensus. So not limited inside the Busan or Korea. I believe there are a lot of common needs that countries share or cities share. So by developing index, we can provide a common tool to the nations that have shared needs. And in that sense, I think World Ocean Forum can play this unique role.
Index as a tool to ensure coexistence. And I believe, the launch of the index will be a stepping board for WOF. And I would like to see whether there is any question from the floor. I think time is up. Now is the time for us to conclude this session. I don't think there is any question from the floor. As I mentioned at the start of the session, the starting point for us is that in the situation where 70 or 80% of the global leading cities are located on the coastline, we should properly understand the level of their competitiveness as well as the potential. And how can we evaluate those potential as well as the competitiveness? I believe an index can be an answer to those questions. This is the first ever session to develop global ocean city or ocean capital index. I think this session was very productive. I believe there are two directions or two approaches we can consider. The first is the lighthouse. As you know, we are living in the era of uncertainty, and where we should go, in which direction we should go down the road. I believe we need to formulate a policy in line with that, and I believe the index can facilitate the discussion as to that. Especially the potential of the ocean and the attractiveness of a city should be considered. And the second point is coexistence. Developing an index is not to instigate unhealthy competition between cities. This is an index which will promote the harmony and the collaboration between and among cities. I hope that we will see the full launch of the index in the near future. Although this is, this is the very first session for the index, and I hope we will have more productive session next year. Thank you very much for staying with us. Thank you. This is the end of the Ocean Index session, and we will continue at 1:30 with Marine Policy session. And please join us for the afternoon session as well.